Hello, today's question is, how long does it take to recover after a birth?
This is Kaely Daily, the bi-weekly podcast about all things doula tips and tips, where we answer one question about pregnancy, labor, postpartum, or lactation in order to have your journey in this parenting world be just a little bit more informed and filled with consent.
Hello and welcome back to Kaely Daily. Today's question is, how long does it take to recover after a birth? Now, just like all the questions that we talk about on this channel, this podcast, is there is a huge range of what is normal. So I want you to just start with that freshly in your brain so that you know there's not just one set answer for this. I want you to think about a few things when we're answering this question. So how long does it take? It depends a bit on how your birth went, right? It also depends on what kind of delivery you had. Did you have a vaginal delivery? Did you have a cesarean delivery, right? The other thing that matters is what was going on in your body before pregnancy and what is happening in the midst of labor and delivery and postpartum, okay? So all of those things make the answer slightly different for different people. What you want to think about for everybody is anyone who has had a pregnancy has had a placenta that grew in their uterus and attached to their uterus. That creates a wound on the inside of the uterus that has to heal, okay? So that's one factor. Then if you have had birth vaginally, then the baby has also passed through the birth canal, which has created some kind of tearing, even at least micro tears, like something is happening that needs to heal in the vagina of the birth canal, right? If you've had a cesarean delivery, then there's stuff healing about the incision, right? And that's a little bit more extensive because it's going through all the layers between the outside to the inside of the uterus, right? So there are all those different factors at play. Also, at the end of pregnancy, your uterus has basically taken over your abdomen, for lack of a better phrase, where you really have your other systems also are trying to heal and get back into place and things like that. So your GI tract is impacted by that. Your stomach is impacted by that. Your muscles, your core, all of that is impacted. But hormonally, that impacts your emotions, your mental stability and memory and things like that, your ability to sleep, your desire to eat or not eat, and how your like appetite is, right? So all of that is really impacted. Now, the next episode coming out on Friday is all about postpartum recovery from a nutritional standpoint. So like talking about with a special guest, I'm super pumped about it. And talking about like, what does it look like to support your body nutritionally to help the process of healing? Generally speaking, you're healing for about 3 to 6 months postpartum. Now, that doesn't mean that 3 to 6 months postpartum, you don't feel like yourself at all, or you feel like still in a ton of pain, right? Like that's not true for everyone. Many people feel a lot less pain or maybe no pain by 6 weeks or 8 weeks postpartum. But if you think about the last part of your journey in this parenting, in this pregnancy space as your 4th trimester, which lots of people like to call that postpartum time, that is your last set of 12 weeks, right? So that 12-week period then becomes kind of its own space in terms of healing and adjusting and all of that. And that's, of course, factoring in like if you have other kiddos running around, or if this is your first time doing this, or if you're making milk or trying to make milk, or any of those kinds of things that are part of what impacts this time. Okay. So, generally speaking, for, 6 to 8 weeks is what we talk about. What I mean to say is 3 to 6 months is what I really think of in my mind as like your body, brain, hormones, etc., recovering. Now, the other part of that is this idea that your body is back in some way, right? And I don't mean just size, but like size is part of that we talk about. We also talk about emotions. We talk about like desires and whatnot. And I think it's important in the postpartum time to also think about the fact that this pregnancy has been altering to your body, right? So it's not, you never are the person who wasn't pregnant with this baby before, right? So thinking about going back is unhelpful in my mind, because really from a like holistic standpoint, you want to think about going forward, right? You want to think about what does it look like to heal and recover and be a really healthy version of you in this postpartum time, right? And you're not the person who you were before you were pregnant in a really holistic way in terms of your body, right? And again, I do not just mean size. I also mean how your metabolism functions, how your GI tract functions, how your mental health functions, how your hormonal health is. Like all of those things are impacted by a pregnancy in some really beautiful, wonderful ways, and sometimes in some challenging ways, right? And it's not something where you can just be what you were, for lack of a better term, before you were pregnant, right? You are always going to be a little bit different after a pregnancy because your body has carried that baby to term or to the end of pregnancy. And that in some way has changed who you are physically, emotionally, and otherwise. Okay. So, that's a very general answer to that question. We're gonna, on Friday, I'm chatting with Olga, this wonderful, 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 specialist who will give you some more information about nutrition and, really nurturing your body in the postpartum time with food. And so tune in for that on Friday. And then, next week we have a few more postpartum episodes so that we can kind of wrap up season 1, with some postpartum stuff to get us ready for season 2. All right. So I'll see you in Friday's episode. In the meantime, I wish you well-informed, consent-filled birthing experiences.
These episodes are edited and produced by Kaely, Harrod, as I'm sure you can probably tell. And our amazing music is credited in the show notes as well. So we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. And in the meantime, have wonderful and consent-filled births.